Hi there. This video is going to be showing you how to sync your data from Tailwind into QuickBooks Online. While Tailwind offers many administrative and accounting tools, it's not a full-fledged accounting software. To help businesses that require a more powerful accounting solution, Tailwind offers an integration of QuickBooks Online. For the purposes of this video, we're going to assume that you've already set up your chart of accounts inside of QuickBooks. If this is your first time using an accounting software like QuickBooks, please refer to our help desk documentation where we've provided a suggested chart of accounts, which is linked at the bottom of the article. The default chart of account provides a fairly standard baseline setup for organizing your business. In this video, we're going to be showing you three things. One, the QuickBooks configuration required to allow us to sync with Tailwind, the Tailwind configuration, and then a few examples of sending data across. Step 1, configuring QuickBooks. What we need to do is go log into our QuickBooks file, which I've done on another tab here. From here, we're going to navigate to our account settings, which is found under the gear at the top and under your company. Next, we'll click on Sales. And from within Sales, we're going to want to ensure that we've turned on custom transaction numbers. What this does is this allows us to send across our Tailwind invoice numbers into the QuickBooks invoice records. Next, inside of QuickBooks, we'll need to configure the products/services that will line up with our revenue and expense items from within Tailwind. To do this, we'll close down the account settings, click again on our gear, and then under lists, we'll have the option for products and services. In here, you can see I've gone through and set up a few already, but yours will be defaulted to blank if you haven't done this before. From that, you'll then click on New, Service, and it'll then open up our product service information window. From here, there's a few things that we'll need to enter in. One being the name. So I'm just going to type in extra stop, for example. The next thing that you'll need to fill in is if this is something that you sell to your customers, i.e. invoice them for, you'll want to ensure that that's checked off, and you then choose the desired income account from your chart of accounts that'll then go into. If this is something that you also purchased or are charged from a third-party supplier, you'll want to then check off I purchased this, where then you can also then assign that to an expense account. All the other fields aren't required at this point, so you can simply click Save and Close. You'll see that it's then added extra stop into our list here. You'll need to continue to create all of these services and or products so that you can go through on the Tailwind side and map them. That's where we're going to go next is step 2, which is configuring the Tailwind end. So hopping back into Tailwind, what we'll do is click on Tools and QuickBooks. And from here, then we'll need to click on our Connect to QuickBooks button. Because I had already been logged into QuickBooks previously, it's simply going to show us any of the QuickBooks files that are associated to our account. If you hadn't logged into QuickBooks, it would simply bring up the QuickBooks login where you would type in your credentials there. I'm going to select our Feel the Wind brokerage. It'll then prompt us to authorize the connection between the two systems, which I'll just click Connect. And then from here, once the window's gone away, we'll click Next. This will bring us to our Tailwind configuration, where we have a few different options. First one being selecting the branch that you want to send data from Tailwind into on the QuickBooks side of things. Essentially, this will be used if you're filtering out different company files. Second being the exchange rate. By default, we will send across transactions with the Tailwind exchange rate if you're using multiple currencies. If you're not, this can simply be ignored. Next is being able to set our earliest transaction date. This would be if you have been using QuickBooks previously and Tailwind previously, and you only want to send transactions from a specific date forward. You can set that desired date inside of here. So anything prior to will stay inside of Tailwind only and not be duplicated on the QuickBooks side of things. As we continue on down here, you'll see that we have our account mapping. I've already gone through and mapped all of my accounts previously, so I'll just continue on down through them. We next see our revenue item mapping, which gives us a list of all of our revenue items and the corresponding matches in QuickBooks. Just for example here, I'm going to delete one out so I can show you how to map an item. So in this case here, we'll see it says create mapping, one being our local item, which is that freight charge that I just removed. And then on the right-hand side here, it'll give us a list of all of the different services that we've created previously on the QuickBooks side of things. So I'm just going to match that up with freight. Once all of our items have been mapped, that drop-down no longer shows up. And it just lets you know that you've mapped everything. So continue on down, same thing for payables. And for our Canadian customers that are charging taxes, you'll see that there's also a section for us to perform the tax mapping as well. For our US customers, this won't show for you. Because everything is now mapped, I'll simply go in and click Next. Inside of here, it then gives us a listing of each of the different areas within Tailwind that we are syncing data from. By default, it'll load into the customer list. In our example here, I've already sent across all of my customers, so nothing shows. But if I click on invoices here, you'll see it then gives a listing of all the various outstanding invoices that need to go across into QuickBooks. By default, it will show all of the items as being checked off to go to QuickBooks. If I would like to unselect those or deselect those, I can simply click the deselect all button at the top, which I'm going to do for our example here. From here, we also have a couple of different options. We can open up the invoice just to validate it and make sure that it makes sense. Beside that, we have our suppress, which will allow you to hide that record. That's generally going to be used if you've already manually created that in QuickBooks and you don't want it to go across. You would click that, and essentially that would be hidden from any future syncs. What I want to do now is just choose one to show you how the sync works. So we'll see here we have 374 for ABC Company CAD. And if I want to sync, all I have to do is click the red sync button up at the top. When I click that, now you'll see that that invoice has now been removed from our list. And if I go into QuickBooks, we can then see how that came across. So navigating back over to here, we'll go into ABC Company CAD, and we see 374 sitting there as an outstanding item. As payments come across, you'll see the balance then show up as 0 along with the payment records that are associated to those. One more note about the list here is you can see there is a column for status as well. What this will return is if for whatever reason there's an error generated when trying to send a record from Tailwind into QuickBooks, that error will be displayed inside of this list to provide you with a little bit of troubleshooting information. Example could be if there's already a record that exists with the same name, an issue with currency related things where we have a customer that's CAD and we're trying to send an invoice for US, those would then show up in that section there. That does bring us to something that I would like to note regarding currencies. Inside of QuickBooks, they do have a requirement where the customer and or vendor currency does need to match that other transaction. So you will need to create two, essentially, if that customer does do both US and CAD. So you'll create one ABC Company CAD, one for ABC Company USD, and then the transactions will then have to match those. That is a requirement set up by QuickBooks, and unfortunately we can't control that one. So that's it. That concludes the video on how to set up and configure Tailwind. Hope it was helpful for you, and yeah, can't wait to catch you on the next one.